Welcome to The Explainer. So, let's just dive right into it today because we are unpacking something absolutely fascinating. We're looking at the inner architecture of a voice that commands undeniable respect and doing it completely without aggression. You see, leadership begins with your voice long before your actions or your results even show up. When you talk like a leader, you literally move differently and people respond to you differently. It's not about being the loudest person in the room, it's about mastering the discipline, the psychology, and the strategy behind your communication. So, right off the bat, I gotta ask you a simple question. Why do we talk so much? I mean, really? Well, the answer from the source material is honestly a bit of a tough pill to swallow. Most of our habitual, fast paced talking isn't actually communication at all. It's just anxiety disguised as communication. We talk fast because we're terrified of being interrupted, right? We talk long because we mistakenly think more words equal more value. We are basically just trying to outrun our own thoughts. Now, there is a massive psychological difference at play here. Followers talk simply to fill empty space. They talk just to be heard. But leaders? Leaders speak to create clarity. They speak to be understood. When you speak less, something incredibly powerful happens. People lean in. They listen. They take your words seriously because those words aren't getting lost in a massive sea of unnecessary noise. Make no mistake, noise is the absolute enemy of authority. So, to get you to that level, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the power of restraint, eliminating weak language, mastering tone and pace, leveraging silence, and finally, choosing clarity over complexity. Simple as that. All right, let's jump straight into Pillar 1, the power of restraint, and why you need to stop explaining yourself. The source drops a major tough love truth right out of the gate here. When you talk too much, you literally dilute your power. Think about a military briefing, right? There is zero fluff, no rambling whatsoever. Every single sentence has a specific job. Because ultimately, explaining is essentially asking for permission. When you over-explain a decision you've already made, you're signaling insecurity. You're trying to soften the blow. You are subconsciously begging for validation and approval from the room, rather than just simply standing behind your choice. So why do we actually do this? Well, it stems from deep-rooted fear. Fear of being misunderstood, fear of judgment, fear of conflict. The source shares this great case study of a manager who just needed to assign a simple, straightforward project. But instead of just giving the assignment, he launches into a 5-minute apologetic speech. Like, I was thinking maybe you'd be a good fit, but hey, you don't have to if you're busy. I just thought. He talked himself completely out of respect. He didn't lose respect because the decision was wrong. He lost it because he explained it to death. Which brings us to this brutal, yet highly effective maxim. State your decision, then stop talking. Just stop. Deliver your message cleanly. Don't backtrack. Don't soften it with a whole paragraph of emotional disclaimers. End your sentences with a period. Say what you need to say, stand firmly behind it, and let silence finish the job for you. Moving on to Pillar 2, eliminating weak language. It is time to cleanse your vocabulary. You generally don't lose your authority in those big, dramatic moments. No way. You lose it in the tiny, casual filler words you probably don't even realize you're using. Things like, I think, maybe we should, sort of, hopefully. I want you to mentally throw these in the trash right now. These are unconscious habits of undisciplined thinking. Every single time you say, I'm not sure, but you literally lower your authority before your idea even leaves your mouth. You are actively destroying your own presence. Let's look at a real-world corporate transformation to prove this point. We have this mid-level manager who used to pitch ideas by saying, so I was thinking maybe we could try adjusting the process. And guess what? He was completely ignored. But after training, he walked into the exact same room and said, we are adjusting the process. Here is the plan. Leadership instantly approved it. It was the exact same idea, just different language. Because a strong voice creates a strong message. All right, Pillar 3, mastering tone and pace. This is all about the speed of power. Look, a powerful, clean vocabulary means absolutely nothing if your tone and your speed totally betray your underlying anxiety. You have to control your tone, or your tone is going to control you. Remember this. Slow is strong. Slow is certain. Slow is leadership. Fast talkers sound scared. They sound like they're desperately trying to outrun their own thoughts. But when you deliberately slow your pace, you physically demonstrate gravity, control, and a really deep comfort with your own power. So, if you ever feel panic or emotions starting to bubble up into your voice during a high stakes moment, use this highly actionable exercise straight from the source. It's called the 60-second tone reset. First, inhale and exhale for 4 seconds. Then, consciously lower your volume by 10%. A lower volume actually makes people lean in, whereas a higher volume pushes them away. Finally, slow your pace by 20%. Then, deliver your next sentence calmly. It resets your power instantly. It's like magic. Pillar 4, the leverage of silence. We really need to stop filling the void. Most amateur communicators are absolutely terrified of silence, right? We've basically been conditioned our entire lives to fill the void, to smooth over awkwardness with chatter. But that conditioning strips you of your power. We need to completely redefine the pause. Silence is not emptiness, it is leverage. It's literal space for your authority to be felt. There's an incredible case study in the source about a job interview. When asked about salary expectations, the candidate simply said, "I'm looking for a package in the 140 to 160 range." And then he stopped talking. He didn't justify it. He held the silence. The interviewer squirmed, waited for him to panic and lower his number, but he just didn't break. She folded first, and he got the absolute top of the range. So here's a challenge for you. I want you to apply this 72-hour exercise to unteach that nervous conditioning. Before answering any question, I want you to pause for just 2 seconds. In those 2 seconds, ask yourself, does what I'm about to say actually move the message forward? If the answer is no, cut it. Let it die in silence. It takes massive discipline, I know, but it changes everything. And finally, our 5th pillar, clarity over complexity. We are talking brutal simplicity here. Long-winded complexity, it's really just another shield for the insecure. People think that using 50-word sentences with tons of corporate jargon makes them sound smart. It absolutely doesn't. It just makes them sound desperate. There is a stark contrast here. Complexity creates confusion, but brutal clarity creates action. The source highlights the CEO dealing with a massive company crisis. While other executives were rambling and totally losing the room in 30 seconds with complex panic, she stood up and used exactly 3 sentences. Revenue is down, we cut costs by 15%, we focus on our top 3 clients. Boom, silence. Everyone immediately knew the direction and felt totally safe under her control. All of this builds to one absolutely crucial psychological shift that's required of you. Respond with strength. Never react out of emotion. True leaders don't just control their vocabulary and their pace, they maintain absolute emotional discipline under pressure. When you react emotionally, you essentially give others permission to challenge you. But when you respond with calm, disciplined strength, you are immovable. So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to take away from our explainer today. Will you choose reaction or will you choose control? Because every single time you open your mouth, you are setting the standard. You now have the exact architecture to build an unforgettable, undeniable voice. The choice is completely yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I highly encourage you to start practicing this discipline today.